Boris Johnson is fighting for his political life today as he faces MPs for intensive questioning that could decide his future. During the last hour, the Privileged Committee has published new material as part of the inquiry into Downing Street parties during COVID lockdowns. The former Prime Minister has admitted misleading the House of Commons over the parties, but insists it wasn't intentional. Well, our political correspondent, Tamara Cohen, joins me now. So, Tamara, take us through what's been published in the last hour.
Morning, Ian. So a 110-page bundle of documents has been published by the Privileges Committee, and this is going to be the framework for this bombshell appearance by Boris Johnson at the committee this afternoon, and both sides' legal teams are going to rely on a wealth of messages and COVID guidance contained in them. Let me show you a few bits that we've seen in there today. So one of the key questions is going to relate to whether Boris Johnson should have just noticed that these gatherings were not within the rules. And in particular, there was a garden party held in number 10 in May of 2020 that he attended for a bit. He wasn't fined over it. And we've been reminded of the email from his private secretary, Martin Reynolds, who said after an incredibly busy period, we thought it'd be nice to make the most of this lovely weather and have some socially distanced drinks. Now, we see some evidence from Dominic Cummings about that party. He says the idea the Prime Minister could have thought this drinks event was work is comical, given the tables were covered in bottles of drink, everyone was standing around, and the Prime Minister certainly knew it was a drinks party because I told him it was, and when he walked out, he saw a drinks party. So Boris Johnson will be questioned about whether he was recklessly or deliberately misleading Parliament when he said there were no gatherings. And that's that evidence from Dominic Cummings. There's also a very interesting piece of evidence from the person who organised that drinks party, Martin Reynolds. He was Boris Johnson's private secretary. When it came to December of the following year, when the story had emerged in the Mirror and they were having to justify it at Prime Minister's questions, this is what Martin Reynolds said was their conversation at the time. He says, I do recall asking the Prime Minister about the line proposed for Prime Minister's questions on the 7th of December, suggesting all rules and guidance had been followed. I can't remember exactly when I did this. It would have been the period roughly an hour before it started. He said he didn't welcome the interruption, but told me he'd received assurances the comms event was within the rules. I accepted this, but questioned whether it was realistic to argue all guidance had been followed, given the nature of the working environment in number 10, and he agreed to delete the reference to the guidance. So this is really important because at that Prime Minister's questions, when Boris Johnson is now on trial for misleading MPs, he actually did say that all rules and guidance had been followed. He didn't follow Martin Reynolds' advice, and the MPs will be questioning whether he had been warned that the guidance was not followed and went ahead and said it anyway. Now, Boris Johnson's team feel that some of this evidence is actually quite helpful to them. They're relying a lot on messages he exchanged with his communications director, Jack Doyle, who Boris Johnson says assured him no rules were broken. I'll just show you a bit of these conversations that he and Jack Doyle had when the stories started to emerge about it. This is what Jack Doyle said to the initial inquiry into the parties. Did you give him assurances? And Jack Doyle says, yes, in discussion with colleagues, in a broader discussion. I said to the Prime Minister, I didn't regard this as a party. This is regarding gatherings in November and December. And we didn't believe the rules had been broken. That's what we said at lobby. The rules is a judgment for others. It was not an organised party. The interviewer then says, to say this in Parliament is a big thing for the Prime Minister. And Jack Doyle says he had conversations with others as well. But I said, we are saying this wasn't a party and no rules were broken. So that is what Boris Johnson's defence is going to hinge on. The test for the committee is whether he either intentionally misled MPs, Boris Johnson admits that he misled MPs, whether he intentionally did so or whether he did so recklessly, i.e. he should have simply known when he attended these gatherings, which at one point in his evidence he actually refers to as a party, saying it was a kind of shorthand he was using, whether he should have just walked into a room like the one you're seeing there and just known that he was doing the wrong thing. Boris Johnson's political career hinges on whether the committee believe his defence.